February 6th, 2012, Chinese police surrounded the U.S. consulate
So I
in
guess
Inside, Wang Lijun frantically pled for asylum as he presented evidence of what would become the nation's biggest scandal
why corruption is China's secret weapon. All right.
in decades. As police chief of the country's third
I'm
largest
not sure what
city,
this is about.
Wang possessed documents, he said, which could bring down his boss and one of the most powerful men in China, Bo Xilai.
I just hope
It
my
all
voice
revolved
is
around a
louder than
British
the
businessman named Neil
video's
Haywood.
volume.
In exchange for getting Bo's son into a prestigious boarding school, Haywood was rewarded with political favors. But for reasons that are still unclear, Bo's wife grew frustrated and eventually poisoned the man. Dramatic, Oscar-worthy stories like this one are a dime a dozen in China. In 2019, for example, this video circulated on social media, showing 13.5
Damn, that is
tons
so
of
much
gold
gold.
hidden in a party secretary's home. Between 2012 and 17 alone, 1.5 million officials were disciplined for corruption. That's
Am I
nearly
just
700
chatting?
criminal charges,
Let
demotions,
me
and
check that. I'm
dismissals
just chatting real quick. Yeah, just chatting.
every single day for 6 straight years. It should be no surprise, then, that China has, quote, serious corruption problems, according to Transparency International. But here's what
Makes sense.
is surprising. Take each country and place it on a line from most to least corrupt. Now, on the x-axis, show its economic growth. What emerges is the general trend you'd expect. The less corruption, the stronger an economy. Corruption, after all, is a tax on business. It scares away investors and diverts limited resources towards unproductive roads to nowhere. And yet, China is way over here, with both extremely high growth and corruption. How is that possible? How has China defied
Reaction Andy,
predictions of
people clap. Yeah, no, feel free to send me any videos. Don't feel the need to use what's it called? The do I have a video request as a reward challenge? Let me see. Send a message, modify, choose an emote, TTS, on request, dab, fail. No, I don't. Never mind. Yeah, feel free to send any videos.
Imminent economic
How are you,
collapse
Jerndy?
every single year for decades. Not by eliminating corruption.
So this video is why corruption in China. Why corruption is China's secret weapon. I'm not quite sure what it's getting at just yet. Something about okay, so it started off showing the corruption that China does have and its economic prosperity relevant to it, and it's the only country that experiences high corruption and a high GDP growth rate. You do? Redeemed video? Oh, I do. Okay. Yeah, feel free to bypass that. That's only when I'm busy and doing something else, and then you can cut into my time. But when I'm doing React Andy, it's free real estate.
But by doing what no other country has managed to do so effectively, weaponizing it. Sponsored by CuriosityStream and Nebula,
Have
where
you been
can
streaming?
watch my brand new Nebula
Jerndy?
original series. This first full-length episode is about how Chinese censorship actually works and why the regime does sometimes tolerate dissent. Watch it with the CuriosityStream and Nebula bundle. Right
Damn,
now,
I need to get
42%
Nebula.
off
I always wonder
what
are these
$12
secret
a year.
videos that
if you enjoy these videos,
I'm not watching
sign
otherwise.
up to get 50% more of them starting
I updated
today.
my channel a lot, but haven't streamed. Did you do that on your own, or did you pay someone to make those overlays?
The principal agent problem. Capitalism, it goes, is all about specialization. It isn't efficient, or even possible, for each of us to sew our own clothes, solder our own electronics,
I did it on my own. That's super cool. So you know what would have been a really good stream? Had you streamed yourself doing the overlays.
Modern life, in other words, requires
it teaches people how to do it themselves,
but
and
how do a company's
it's kind of like
ensure its
lore building. I think. Like I made my emotes
misuse
on my stream, and I think that was a pretty good stream.
their money.
These
Replace
Let me
shareholders
show
with
'em.
voters and managers with politicians, and you understand why eliminating corruption is a really hard
These
problem.
ones, and I had
That's
another
in a
one that got
democracy.
banned.
But even the most
It was
iron
the simp
fisted
emote,
dictator can't
and
possibly
it got
make,
banned
much less
once
implement.
Twitch banned the word simp. I haven't done overlays, just backgrounds, banners, and profile pics. Oh, okay.
Every last decision
I
on their
I always thought those were under the umbrella term of overlays. But apparently I'm wrong because overlays are just the ones that go in your actual stream, and then the other ones are the ones that go like around the profile.
own. They
Yeah.
too
Okay.
must delegate. Say you're the leader
Important
of
distinction
China.
if I want to be a streamer.
Whether or not you have the people's best interest in mind, you also know your
How's the
legitimacy and
volume
therefore
mixing?
your
Is
power
the Am I
depends on
louder than the
some
video?
level of competence. While nationalism and censorship afford the Communist Party plenty of
What do you
room for
think?
failure, at the end of
What
the
do I
day,
think about
your
what?
continued rule requires food on the table, gas in the tank, and at least some
The
occasional
video's a little
clean
bit louder. I
water.
can lower it.
On a purely organizational level, take a second to appreciate just how hard a coordination problem it is to convert words at the top into the
Okay. Is
actions
that better?
99 layers below, which result in more high-speed rail than every other country put together, and maintain 10% GDP growth for years on end. Now, for the sake of simplicity, let's condense those
I
hypothetical
really do think if China had more than one party, it would be a republic. Not to say, not like the US. The US, I do not consider a republic. I consider it a democracy. So, like, the distinction would be people wouldn't vote in China, but there would be competition among the parties for power. But as it stands, it's like authoritarian one party system.
99 layers into
But it's
just
very close
3.
to progressing to a republic, and then from there progress further to a democracy.
At the very top of the pyramid are a tiny number of elite
At least
party
that's my
officials.
opinion. I don't know.
Getting them to follow orders is relatively easy. Their next promotion depends on it.
Yeah.
The problem lies between them and the public. The ground level civil servants who, on any given day, actually deliver the functions of government, providing healthcare, delivering education, and building infrastructure. Unlike the elites, these officials are usually stationed in one city for their entire careers. They aren't playing some House of Cards game of political intrigue. They're just looking to put food on the table. And hey, if they can convert what authority they have into a new car or apartment, even better. And therein lies the problem.
Yeah, but I feel like if you're picking up a government job, then for the most part, you kind of agree with what government has set up. That's why I could never be a cop or like even a judge would be hard for me to pull off. I would just find so much disagreement that I'd probably get fired.
The Chinese bureaucracy
As bad as it
is
sounds.
huge. We're talking 50 million party state employees, aka all of South Korea, or Texas and New York put together. That's excluding its military, the world's largest, and state-owned enterprises.
100,000, 50 million Chinese bureaucracy, South Korea. How is South Korea competitive with China? And it's like, I don't know, 1/100th size.
Which comprise 9 of the country's 10 largest employers. Plus, that number is from 2007. Meanwhile, thanks to outdated rules and widespread evasion, only 2% of the population paid any income tax in 2015, according to one former official.
Pay personal income tax?
In other words, there just isn't enough revenue to go around. Public servants are paid peanuts.
Oh, sad.
The average nationwide monthly wage is $1,298 US. Yet the highest paid civil servants make just $824, and the lowest
Well, I mean, if you count corruption as a form of wage, just illegal wage, then these numbers are skewed. So like he's gonna get into that. How low I think that's one of the points he's gonna make, how low pay translates into corruption.
measly.
Can you fix the echoing? Oh, okay. The only way I can is either fix the mixing of the microphone settings, which I don't know how to do, or I put my headphones on. Better?
This is a dangerous
I don't like the
combination.
headphones though.
Lots of local
It feels restrictive.
political power, yet thanks to desperation, every
Way
incentive
better?
to
Oh,
hinder
okay.
and steal rather than help the country.
Did I just get lag?
How do you
Oh, I'm experiencing lag. Do you?
convince these local officials
I wear headphones 24/7. Tongue out face? Okay.
who may not even make a living wage to stop harassing businesses, which you, the leader, need to create the jobs and drive the economic growth that keeps you in power?
What did he
Countries
say?
to create a living help the country. How do you convince these local officials who may not even make a living wage to stop harassing businesses?
Holy shit, the fact that 500 a month is living wage. No. I mean, 1,000 to 1,500 is a living wage in China is mind blowing. It kind of gets at the facts at comparing GDP per not okay. So there's two major GDP figures. There's nominal and I forget what the other one's called. GDP nominal versus PPP. And the key difference between nominal and PPP is that nominal is the unadjusted for the effects of inflation at its current market prices, where PPP is converted to US dollars using purchasing power parity rates and divided by total population. So I like to think about it as PPP takes market rates into account. So how much yen for USD the market is willing to offer you, and vice versa. So adjust it to market rates compared to what you could possibly expect to pay in GDP nominal terms in an insular economy where you're not taking the wider market into consideration, but just where you are. So let's say you have 100 USD, that would go way farther in like Latin America per se than the US, where wages are higher, so you can't buy as much stuff. So how the purchasing power nominally for China is already surpassed the US, but when you take market exchange rates into account, the US is still a larger economy, so the US can buy more things on the global market than China. But when it comes to internal activity and you measure an economy by those metrics, China has already surpassed the US as the larger economy, and it has so for a few years now.
These local officials
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you can sieve out of that, but that's how I think of it.
who may not even make a living wage to stop harassing businesses, which you, the leader, need to create the jobs and drive the economic growth that keeps you
I think both are really important metrics.
in power. Countries unable to answer this question end up like the Philippines, paralyzed against their will by an endless cycle of incompetence and corruption.
Sad.
One obvious solution
That
is
is
to
so
do
sad.
as Singapore does, pay them so much that they don't have to resort to bribery. Members of its parliament are given a monthly allowance 3 times higher than the median household income, and its prime minister is the world's
Yeah, but Singapore is an authoritarian one-party system, just like China. It's this guy has another video, and its title is called "Why Singapore is the Only Successful Dictatorship," and he makes a lot of good points in it. I know I'm doing a lot of what's it called sound bites, I think they're called, or like one-liners where you're like supposed to get a lot from just a little bit of information, but I think the title speaks volumes.
highest paid political leader, earning 4 times as much as the US president. The results are compelling. No politician
How does the president make money?
has been charged with corruption in 2 decades, and the country is tied for second place on the Corruption Perception Index. But, of course,
Okay,
this
that's
is
really
easier
good.
said than done. High public salaries are a luxury most of the world simply can't afford. It's no coincidence that the countries at the top of the list are also the world's wealthiest. Of the top 10, for
Okay.
example, the poorest is New Zealand, with a per capita GDP of $41,000.
That's still all right.
China, on the other hand, discovered a much cheaper solution. One invisible to the Corruption Perception Index, which lumped
What? They have a way to skew the metrics for corruption? Cronyism, bribery, embezzlement. I don't know what cronyism means. I don't know what graft means. I don't know what patronage means. I know extortion. I know nepotism. I know lobbying. I forgot what embezzlement means. It's like, oh, I know, like taking money out of a company secretly or something like that. And bribery isn't. That's a pretty big one.
half a dozen different things together under this nebulous umbrella term. More interesting than how much corruption is what kind.
All right, what kind do they
Ang,
have?
in her book China's Gilded Age, argues there are actually 4 distinct types. When the rich world hears the word corruption, we imagine the 1% of the 1%, presidents, prime ministers, and oligarchs, colluding in poorly lit rooms to siphon off public funds for personal gain.
What do you say?
Colluding percent of the 1%. President rich world hears the word corruption, we imagine the 1% of the 1%, presidents,
I think tax evasion.
prime ministers, and oligarchs, colluding in poorly lit rooms to siphon off public funds for personal gain.
I mean, I think that's like a second and third world problem, not first world so much. I hope.
Yachts, mansions, and private jets. That's grand theft. Conversely,
Okay.
people from lower income regions may not have to imagine. They can simply remember a cop soliciting bribes. This is known as petty theft. Whether
Okay.
small or large, theft is bad for everyone but the thief. When your leader embezzles public funds to buy rare leopard skin hats, you receive nothing. But there's another dimension: exchanges, transactions in which the buyer receives special treatment. If you need 20 permits to open a restaurant, you almost have to pay what's called speed money to overcome the red tape. This is better than mere theft because at least you get something in return. You're not worse off after paying the bribe. Still, you're certainly not celebrating.
That's interesting.
But then there's something called access money, exchanges that make both parties much better off.
If I had to guess as to what like examples of access money are, I would say being granting access to like the greater market to exchange what is China's currency again? Is it the yuan? I forget. It's not the yen, it's yuan. Yeah. So they have a restricted market where you can only convert a certain amount of renminbi yuan to USD if you're in China, but there's obviously ways around that.
Now, make no mistake, all corruption is bad. But bad to who, when, and how? If you're a business, the theft kind is just a loss, what economists would call a tax.
I thought they called it
Access
friction.
money, on the other hand, is actually an investment, a tax. Access money, on the other hand, is actually an investment. Suddenly you're able to buy certain privileges that you previously couldn't. And this kind is precisely what China has the most of. Here's how it
Access
works.
money, okay.
At the top of each
From when Ang's China's Gilded Age.
regional government, remember, is a powerful elite whose performance is evaluated based on objective metrics like economic growth. The problem? His or her next promotion requires the cooperation of hundreds or thousands of poorly paid subordinates. What motivation does the bureaucrat making $80 a month have to play along? So the
What did you
two
say again?
reach an agreement. Help poorly. His or her next objective regional government, remember, is a powerful elite whose performance is evaluated based on objective metrics like economic growth.
Okay.
The problem? His or her next promotion requires the cooperation of hundreds or thousands of poorly paid subordinates. What motivation does the bureaucrat making $80 a month have to play along? So the two reach an agreement. Help me climb the ladder and I'll make sure you're well taken care of. Government departments are allowed to operate almost like independent businesses, keeping some portion of whatever they collect in fees and taxes. Some of this money, in turn, is used to shower workers with perks that would make even a Google employee jealous. Everything from
Okay.
food to vacations, parties, housing, electricity, gas, childcare, furniture, and equipment. Although public wages are set below market rates, formal salaries only comprise 24% of the average bureaucrat's total compensation.
Wait, what do you say?
Although public wages are set below market rates, formal salaries only comprise 24% of the average bureaucrat's total compensation.
24%.
When these
Is he really gonna say 76% is from corruption or those other forms of corruption? Public employees with perks.
unofficial benefits are included, you can see they're actually doing quite well. Bureaucrats may be short on cash, but that doesn't mean you won't spot them on the golf course or beach sipping champagne. But don't lose the forest for the trees. The point is not that government workers are well paid, it's that they receive a kind of unofficial commission. Every last cadre, no matter how low on the org chart, has a personal stake in the country's development.
Okay.
Does your office need new computers? Is your family due for a tropical vacation? Chinese bureaucrats can and do extort businesses for a few quick bucks, but the big money
What does that mean? Holy I'm trying not to swear, but I meant to say holy shit, but like what does that mean? I think it's gonna be like a Chinese rich person term with easy, like corruption type thing. I can't copy it. Wait, yeah, I can. I have to do etc. C. Let's do Google and translate and we'll translate to text language English. I have a lot of circles. Okay, like inner circles. Yen, not circles. Oh, oh, here's the other definition. I have a lot of yen. When I read I have a lot of circles, I more understood it as inner circles, so like people you hang around with. But I don't know, it could just be completely off and I could just be making a wrong translation there. I have a lot of yen makes a lot more sense. Easy.
is in attracting businesses, from whom most taxes are generated. Local governments ferociously compete to be Tesla, IKEA, and Walmart's best friend.
Okay.
One province, for instance, introduced leave business alone days, during
What does
which
that mean?
inspections and other regulatory intrusions were banned. Another county's slogan is, quote, investors are gods.
They ban inspections and that's good for business. That is so scary for like health and like since like honest policy, like not getting scammed and stuff.
Bureaucrats are humble servants.
Investors are gods. Prospectors of investors are heroes. Bureaucrats are humble servants. And those who harm corporate interests are sinners. That is so fucking scary.
And those who harm corporate interests are sinners. The genius of the Chinese system is that it found an innovative way to harness corruption for the greater good. Paradoxically, this incredible economic growth was made possible by
That is not greater good. That's like exclusivity.
millions of
Like that other form of corruption that he got into.
officials using public funds to play blackjack in Macau and buy designer handbags in Paris. We think of the
Okay.
Chinese central government as all-powerful and all-encompassing, able to wield its authority far and wide. But there remain practical and physical limits to what's possible.
Like
Eliminating corruption is hard, if not impossible, on a budget. So instead, China carefully manages which kind is tolerated. As you can clearly see, non-transactional theft has been systematically targeted, while business-friendly favors are left alone. Likewise, just as bureaucrats are managed by an imperfect combination of carrot and stick, so too are individual citizens. Chinese censorship is highly coercive, technologically advanced,
it's like bringing
and effective,
incentives
but
into
it's
the
not
mix.
perfect, and surprisingly, nor is it absolute. Authoritarian governments like China's are a giant black box, shrouded in doubt and secrecy. But understanding what it does and doesn't censor is a rare and revealing reflection of how the Communist Party thinks and what it fears most. This video has been about how China controls its cadres. This full-length 15
Alright, I have to look up cadres. I don't know what that means. Military, the key group of officers, enlisted personnel necessary to establish and train a new military unit. Oh, enlisted personnel necessary to establish a new military unit. A group of trained or otherwise qualified personnel capable of forming, training, or leading an expanded organization as a religious, political faction, or skilled workforce. Especially in communist countries, a cell of trained and devoted workers. Oh, okay.
Minute Nebula original about how China controls its people is the very first episode in my new series explaining how the country actually works, starting by looking underneath the black bar of censorship.
Man, I wish I had access
What
to
gets
Nebula.
censored,
I
and
would
even
totally
more
go and watch
interesting,
that video
what
right now.
doesn't, and why. The team and I have been working overtime to bring you an additional Nebula exclusive video for every other one you see on YouTube. These are
That is so many videos. Holy, that's so good.
full-length normal Polymatter videos, not bonus, extended, or director's cuts. In other words, you can start getting 50% more Polymatter for just $12 a year.
Alright, you make
Mentioned
a
feature-length
convincing argument.